Hello and a very warm welcome to this special conversation on the Squirrels. Every day over the last 48 hours, we've been waking up to a newer threat from the US President Donald Trump of another potential tariff being imposed on India. Exactly what should one be making out of this? Why suddenly that entire hugoplousy which existed, that love affair which existed between Donald Trump and Narendra Modi, where has all the camaraderie, where has all the bonhomie gone? Why is Trump so angry with India? What is it that has changed in this last couple of months? With me, two diplomatic aces who have seen perhaps a lot of these diplomatic wars, diplomatic rifts, I should say. Ultimately, what happens at the end of it, what should India be responding like, is what we'd really like to know. Two aces with us. Great pleasure for us to be welcoming Pinak Chakravarty ji and Shashank ji, both of whom with exemplary careers in the foreign services which have taken them across the length and breadth of the entire world. Great pleasure for us to be welcoming you. Mr. Chakravarty, let me begin with you first, and let me ask you to respond to this, sir. Why is Trump so angry? Why is he? What is it that's happened that he's suddenly become so angry against India?
First of all, we must understand that why Trump is doing all this. I think if you go back to his statements and some of his advisors, etc., basically they have flagged two things. One is that America has an unsustainable trade deficit, which is impacting on America's GDP, American consumer preferences, inflation, etc. So what they have advised him, and he has caught on to that idea, is that I will use tariff as a tool or as a stick to beat everybody else. Mostly, by the way, he's chosen countries which run trade surpluses with the US. Countries like Vietnam, then countries like India, then EU to some extent, and then. But he's also not spared countries like UK, which actually runs a trade imbalance. That is, America has a trade surplus with the UK. So it's not very consistent. But basically, what the percentages that we have seen, and we have seen the calculations, seems to be based on the trade deficits. That's why I think that is what his sort of goal is. Now, as we all know, that he does it in a very, what shall we say, flamboyant public method, but ultimately these are all pressure tactics, in my view, so that because India was one of the first countries which got into negotiations with the USA on a trade deal. But it has floundered because of these constant threats and things like that, which has generally muddied the waters so much that it's very difficult now to negotiate, because negotiations like this are done under the radar. Nobody sort of, from the top of the roof shouts, I will do this, I will do that, and all that. But I think it is mostly threat and blackmail to get India to agree to certain things, which we are unable to do so at the moment. But there are ways of dealing with it, in the sense that negotiation is about, cutting deals, and negotiation is about some give and take. We know where the sectors that he wants,
Let me put it this way, sir. Should we just be looking at it, as you're rightly pointing out, that this is a business deal which actually Trump wants to strike with India on his own terms, and therefore he's threatening India, he's blackmailing India? Is it that, or do we say that actually the problem is that Prime Minister Modi and his team has completely failed to read Trump in Trump 2.0? That we thought that he was the same Trump that we were used to dealing with, but he's not the same Trump. Is there some personal dimension to this Modi versus Trump relationship that you're seeing playing itself out now?
I don't know, but there could be, because I'm not privy to that. I mean, for example, Trump has a massive ego, and his ego may have been hurt by. Let's take the example of the fact that he's been trumpeting from the rooftop that he mediated the ceasefire between India and Pakistan. Whereas we have said, there was no such mediation. We talked directly to Pakistan, which has been our position that we don't agree to third party mediation. Now, is that something that has felt that his ego has been hurt? I don't know, but I think these are some of the things, or some other things that are below the radar and not known to the public that could have happened. I don't think that Trump is actually has suddenly turned anti-Indian. I think he wants a deal, and I think he knows, and I think the rest of the U.S. establishment knows that trade is not the only thing between us. That there are many other pillars of this relationship, and trade is only one of them. And hence, I believe that he basically wants a deal. He wants concessions, and if we are prepared to do some kind of a deal, as I said, he has vitiated the process. It could have been done quietly, so we are in a position now where it has become a domestic political issue also.
Right. But Shashank, let's look at this sequence of events, Shashank.
We were in the middle of Operation Sindoor, and suddenly on Truth Social, Trump declared that it was his mediation which led to a cessation of hostilities between the two sides. We've just had a full-blown debate in Parliament in the two houses, where repeatedly the foreign minister has taken this position that not just Trump, there was no phone call which was made by anyone to the Prime Minister. No conversation has happened. Rahul Gandhi wants the Prime Minister to say that Trump is lying. Is this a clash of egos, or is it still, as Chakravarty is pointing out, that it's still at the end of the day Trump's desire to get a business deal on his terms, which he's not getting? How should one be reading this, sir?
Well, I would say that firstly, President Trump knows that he is the President of the United States who will bring US out of a present scenario where it is relatively losing its edge over countries like China, and what previous presidents had been doing, transferring technology and manufacturing to China. And I think under the American prodding, also countries like Japan, Taiwan, and many other European countries, they also transferred many of their manufacturing systems to China. Now, suddenly he has realized that the Chinese are no longer trying to become like Taiwan or like to become like the United States in a Chinese way, but I think they want socialism in a Chinese way. They want China to become the number one country in the world by 2049 in all technologies, cyber, space, everywhere. And already many of the think tanks have said that China is really way ahead of the United States and is moving further ahead. The technologies are not stolen from America or anywhere else. Many of them may have been stolen over a long period of time, but gradually they have acquired their own scientific inventions, innovations, and many of their system, at least in 30, 35 technologies, Americans may not be able to catch up with them. So that is the kind of feeling which has now come into the American researchers. And Chinese have realized that whether the Republicans or the Democrats, all of them are going to be anti-China in future. Now, second thing, what has happened is the Chinese helped Pakistan because they wanted access to the warm waters of the Indian Ocean directly, and they got it through the Pakistanis. So they have made very, very close bonding with Pakistan. And it's no longer just a question of transferring technology or transferring weaponry to Pakistan, but really hand-holding them right up to the very time that they are attacking Indian air bases, or they are doing all kinds of things, even terrorism. So they try to protect their terrorists by removing their names from the UN terrorist lists. So this was the situation which was going on. And suddenly Mr. Trump comes along and his people announce that his family has got a crypto joint venture with the Pakistanis, and he would be feeding, or he would be lunching with the Pakistani field marshal at a time when India was going around sending delegations all over the world.
So are you suggesting, sir, that President Trump, all his moves are happening because of his personal business interests are at play here? Is that your point, sir?
Both. personal deal that is in the uppermost, because President Trump says that when he is the person who has to make the changes, nobody else can do it, what he can achieve. And he knows that he's not coming back in the normal course as for another term. So therefore, this is a historical legacy which he has to leave for America and for the whole world. So therefore, number one, what he can do for his family. Number two, what he can do to make sure that all the manufacturing is brought back to America from all the countries. And so he's insisting that they must put hundreds of billions of dollars of investments in America and on American terms. So therefore, he is forcing countries. I think this is what had happened in 1930s, 1940s, during the Depression period and the Second World War period, when this was a very popular idea that use tariffs to bring back manufacturing and raising the economic profile in the country. Then later on, the Americans used the GATT and WTO, etc., to open the markets to everybody else, bring them everybody else. But by that time, they had already taken control of the whole world. They had taken control of all the manufacturing, even in other countries, which remain on different names, but totally controlled by the Americans. Now they find that Chinese are controlling it. Americans don't have that control.
But Ambassador Chakravarty, look at where we are. Ambassador Chakravarty, look at where we are. You know, till yesterday, we were protesting that the Chinese are allegedly intruding into our territories. Till yesterday, we were fighting off against the Chinese. Till yesterday, we were saying that Chinese have given ammunition to the Pakistanis to attack us, that Chinese radars were getting the better of our military. Now suddenly the Prime Minister is going to the SCO. You know, we're not managing to broker any truce with the Americans. Are we now back to, you know, some kind of a new friendly initiative, a new friendship, a new bonhomie being attempted with the Chinese? Is that the right strategy according to you, Ambassador Chakravarty?
Well, there has been a certain softening, and it's not only by us, by the Chinese as well. As to your point about that PM Modi ji is going to Beijing for the SCO summit, I don't think that is true. I don't think that that media report is based on some facts. I think that the media report is speculative, I think, in my view. And I also believe that China too sees an opportunity here, because what was China's problem? China's problem with India, forget the border, it was also a geopolitical problem, which China saw India getting closer and closer to the USA. As you know, we've signed a lot of defense agreements with the USA over the last decade or so. We've bought defense equipment, and the Russian component of military hardware is down, I think, to now 35%. So this was one of the issues that China fed. And then there was the Quad, for example, which China called an Asian NATO, that it is meant to contain China. But it also derisively said that this is like ocean foam and it will disappear. So those are the kind of positions China had taken. But now I think China sees an opportunity that since the mood in India is very angry against what Trump is doing, then they see an opportunity also to wean India away, maybe, or to be. And so I think there is a softening of attitude on the Chinese part also. And you are seeing it happen on the ground. We are reciprocating. Because China is a large neighbor, we have a lot of trade with China as well. It is the second largest trading partner of India. Although the trade is heavily, adversely sort of against us, trade imbalance.
Yeah.
So I think this is the situation at the moment. Nothing is certain. And I think it's as geopolitically, we are living in an era of flux. I think we all understand.
But
therefore, that's my argument, Shashank. If I go by what Ambassador Chakravarty is saying, that we are living in an era of flux, and I agree with him. But it makes us feel very uneasy that the entities we were saying were in an adversarial relationship with us. Our best friend, because has suddenly become an enemy with us, we now want to go back to that entity who we were describing as our enemy. You remember the famous words which are given by George Fernandez, that you have an enemy like China, which is bigger than the enemy than Pakistan. Do you think that somewhere in between 2018 and 2024, as the domestic political stock of the Prime Minister grew, Do you think we failed to see the tea leaves of what was happening around us when it comes to really understanding world power, sir?
Well, I would say that yes, quite rightly, because we were hoping that we would be able to become the third largest economy very soon, and we would make peace with the Americans, and along with them on their shoulders, we would be able to come closer to the Chinese economic performance. So I think that was a very naive way of thinking. But there it was, because somehow or the other, our people in the Prime Minister's group, they felt that the Americans and the other, they had very large number of friends there, and they would be able to use those friendships and the emotional bonding to the advantage of the country against what they saw that the Chinese were trying to undermine the security interests of India by working along with Pakistan. But what they have now seen, that America has realized that what Obama had talked about G2 long time ago, that without talking of a G2, President Trump has realized that rather than fighting it out with the Chinese, it's much better to accept them as the main power in Asia and to wean away Pakistan from China and to make India in the same position as it was in 1971. And still, America would not lose too much. India will remain where it is. And gradually, when he's calling it a dead economy, so he feels that the Indians and Russians can be put together. So you go back to the Treaty of Friendship of 1971 and bring them to almost the same level, where genocide was happening in Bangladesh by the Pakistanis, but they were not talking about it. They were talking about the great leap that they were making about friendship with China. And one China communique was signed in Shanghai 1972. And also it led to the breakdown of Russia, of Soviet Union. So now I think instead of the breakdown of China, perhaps somehow they are trying to concentrate on the breakdown of India. And we have to come down to this realization that is Pakistan and Bangladesh both joining hands are becoming very, very, let's say, fearsome, saying that, okay, Pakistan says that you can have this next time may not be from the West, but from the East, that India may face trouble. So these are all feelings which Pakistan has suddenly started having with the friendship that they have developed with the United States and especially with President Trump. So they are very much hoping that with or without becoming the chief martial law administrator in Pakistan, they have already got a very special position where they are not only controlling the destiny of Pakistan and Bangladesh, but they are also advising USA how to deal with India or how to deal with Iran, how to deal with China. So I think certainly Pakistan has become the favorite cousin in the region for the United States. This was the same position during the SATO and the CENTO days and all that kind of thing, when Pakistan felt that they were the greatest friend of the Americans and they would give them all bases, etc. They would call themselves an Islamic country, but make sure that all the Islamic countries are brought into the American camp in one way or the other. So I think they are reaching the same position. At least they feel that they have reached the same stage.
Ambassador Chakravarty, Ambassador Shashank, thank you so much for taking time out, sir, and turning the spotlight squarely on a subject which I think will continue to evolve as we go along in the next forthcoming days as well. President Trump, who knows what he will come up next tomorrow. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time in joining us here.